So today I want to talk to you about what I consider to be the absolutely best wholesaling model in 2025. And that is nationwide wholesaling plus innovations with inbound lead generation. Now, I'm going to share with you, I'm going to walk you through this model by sharing with you a case study of one of our clients who recently did, check this out, a $628,000 deal. Now, that is not the price of the house. That was the actual money in his bank account from this deal. It's actually quite insane. And I want to share with you some of the statistics here with him. This is actually the post that he made in our school community where we teach everything here that I'm discussing. He revealed exactly how much he made. You can pause the video there if you want to see exactly the story behind the deal. So to give you context, this 628 that he made was this month, in the month of August, just last week. The previous month he had done over 100,000. This month he will also even outside of this deal, we completely eliminate this deal. He's going to have another high five figures, low six figures in actually collected revenue. Now he has spent about $2,500 in ads, not at one time, but just his budget is like $40, $30 a day, and he's generated 141 leads and has had 18 contracts. Now, those are really spectacular results and better than average. And so why is that? So I'm going to walk you through this model, and that way you can determine if, in fact, this just might be the model for you. By the way, if you are interested in having our team set up this entire system for you, get the ad set up, show you how to run it, and also help you in learning and understanding how to do these type of deals, innovation deals, so that way you can have this type of result, then click the link in the description. We can give you all the details, and then that way you can decide if it's maybe the thing that you've been looking for. So let's walk through these individually. Now, the problem with the typical wholesale model is that everybody's going after the same sellers, right? So either people are cold calling, they're doing SMS, and they're doing all these old school tactics, and they're targeting the same people. Now, in addition to that, even the ones that are doing digital marketing, Facebook, TikTok, and Google, they hire an agency and they want to go ahead and target in that particular local area. So even in the digital marketing space, they're still targeting the same sellers, and everybody's fighting for the same leads. For the same leads, and so as a result of that, the margins are going to be lower because now you're getting bid out. And so that's a problem right now with the typical wholesaling model. And then also the issue is when you're doing any sort of outbound cold calling, etc. It's just a very difficult environment. Sellers don't trust you. They're very combative, etc. So those are the issues there. Now, if we think about, I'm trying to delete this. Here we go. Okay, so let's talk about nationwide targeting. So what happens is when you target nationwide, you're gonna get a lot of markets that other investors haven't even considered. They don't even know that these small towns all across the country exist. And most people don't realize that when you think about the U.S. population, there's over, I think, 17 or 18,000 small towns and only a few hundred cities. So the majority of the U.S. population is in these small towns. And most real estate investors are targeting the big areas. Most investors doing digital marketing are targeting the large areas. So with these sellers, there's no competition. So there's a lot easier negotiation. You're not, you're not having to deal with your deal being stolen, or potentially being stolen by other wholesalers. And a lot of the wholesalers just completely avoid nationwide because there's a bit of a learning curve in terms of understanding the dynamics of analyzing a property, etc. It's not like rocket science, but it takes some adjustment. And so, nationwide targeting just opens the door for a ton of opportunity that it's completely a blue ocean, honestly. Now, when we talk about inbound leads, right now you combine inbound leads, right? These are sellers that filled out a form online. So when you call them, you're not an annoying pest, you're a welcome guest. There's a certain amount of built-in authority and trust already built in with the fact that they saw your ad, they see you as an authority, you had a website, you have some things put together enough for you to run ads. And the close rate for these individuals is quite high, including the time it takes to put a property in the contract. I was talking to one of my clients where he got a lead on Saturday, put the property in contract on the same day, found the buyer on Monday, and already is in the process of selling that deal, signing it up, and getting everything done, all in a matter of a few short days. That's how quickly things could happen because these sellers are motivated versus when you are cold calling somebody, they might be thinking about selling, but they're not really in that moment of, yeah, I got to get something done. And so that's the second part of the equation. When we talk about the third part of the equation now, um, you know, it's very common. It's very common that in these smaller markets, we'll hear that the sellers basically will tell us that there's nobody else that has contacted them. And so we're the only game in town. There's less resistance, which means that when you are doing novations or when you're asking the seller that you need additional time in order to get the property sold and go through the process, it's not really a problem. They got no other option, first of all. And many of them in that small town environment, they're okay with 60 days. They're not looking, the majority of them are not looking to get something done like in the next 30 days, et cetera. And so when you combine nationwide and you combine inbound leads, then it's kind of like a little mini monopoly in these micro markets that you can operate in. It almost reminds me of when I used to do direct mail back in 2003 and nobody else was doing direct mail. You had it all to yourself. And that's kind of how I feel. With Everett, what he ended up doing is he ended up doing 141 leads. Like I said, 18 contracts. He had that big payday. His cost per lead, it's about $17 cost per lead. And he's getting daily leads each and every single day, pleasant conversations with his people. And it's repeatable. So if you take that deal away that he did, that was a humongous deal, and you then just normalize it, you say, hey, that was a $35,000 deal. He's still making a significant amount of money, right? Because he made six figures before, and the previous month he'll make another six this month, plus that deal, etc. Now, what we are doing, when you include this here, the key with these smaller markets, this is the key. The key with these smaller markets is the innovation strategy. Because when you go into these smaller markets, if you try to find cash buyers, you're not going to find any. The investor lift, investor base, most of these systems, they're going to tell you there's no activity. And however, when you do a transaction in these small markets and you do it as an innovation strategy, then that opens you up to the biggest buyer database that exists on earth, which is the multiple listing service. And so then when you do that, when you put in a multiple listing service, now you're exposing it to the largest amount of buyers, plus you're exposing it to buyers that are somewhat retail buyers. So this depends on the condition of the property. And all of a sudden now, like, your buyer database explodes. And it's also it's easier to sell, because rather than, getting a list of buyers and then now you're going to get the phone numbers, make outbound calls and hunt them down to see if they might be interested. You're just taking the property, putting together the right structure, you're putting it on the multiple listing service, and now you're getting inbound inquiries for your property. So from a logistics standpoint, difficulty standpoint, it's a lot easier when it comes to this position as well. All right. And let's see what I have here. Oh, my goodness. All right. So I just think that, when it comes to spending a small amount of money, so you still got to spend money on marketing. But how do you take and put yourself in a position where by spending a couple $1,000s in marketing, you can generate a ton of leads and a ton of opportunities and make significant amount of money? Because like with Everett's case, his average deal is about $25,000, which when we look at our average wholesale deal is only 15. So by doing this strategy, you're also increasing the amount of money that you're making per deal. So automatically, it's even more of a win there. If you want to know more about this model and all the technical things that need to be put in place in order to execute on this, check out this video right here that's going to come up. And that way you can learn more and see if it might just be the thing that you've been looking for.